Many years ago, the great British explorer George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, was asked why did he want to climb it. He said, because it is there. Well, space is there, and we're going to climb it. And the moon and the planets are there, and new hopes for knowledge and peace are there. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked. Thank you.
Good morning, Discovery! Good morning, Discovery! Good morning, Discovery. Rise and shine, boys. Time to start doing that shuttle shuffle. You know what I mean? Hey, here's a little song coming from the billions of us to the 5 of you. Rick, start 'em off, baby. The Hawkster to you. Is the place to be. Free-wheeling on Discovery. Earth rolling by so far below. Just give her the gas and look at this baby go. We can't believe we've made it here. So high above the atmosphere. We just adore the scenery. Yeah, Houston's great, but give me that zero-G. Hey, look out the window! That's me! Captain, I'm hungry. Let's eat! Maybe we'll land at White Sands? Look, Law, no hands! This is the life. Oh, what a flight! Earth orbit, we are here!
The Space Museum really began as a dream of mine many years ago. It really started as a result of my love for space exploration, the new frontier. I was a collector for many years. I started out really desiring a career in aerospace. It didn't work out. In order to maintain my connection to aerospace, I continued to collect over the years, and obviously the collection grew to a point that I was unable to house it in my home. Not only that, I really wanted to share what I believe space exploration has for the common man. I think that's something that we have forgotten. In our current generation, we are progressing so fast, and space exploration is really taken for granted, but we shouldn't take it for granted. There are so many things that we benefit from every day as a result of space exploration. They're called spin-offs. Our cell phones, our smartphones, our compact computers, our advances in video technology, you name it. It's all really as a result of space exploration. That said, I really wanted to share my love, my passion for this newer generation and to remind the older generation what we really took part in. I am a baby boomer, obviously. I lived up through the space program. I remember all the glory days. It gave us something as a nation to really hang our hat on. I want to inspire our youth to do noble things and to aspire to be more than average, to really use those gifts that they have been given to the fullest extent. And I think space exploration represents that 100%. It's the epitome of what human beings can do if they really set their mind to it. So in 2003, I began the museum, negotiated the building, discovered very soon that it wasn't going to work as well as it could as a sole proprietorship. In 2008, we filed as a not-for-profit. We incorporated, and since that time, we've been a not-for-profit. And so we've gained in credibility so much that we've received over $20 million worth of NASA artifacts, and we continue to grow. And our we're becoming a destination. So, correct. The Mercury, Gemini, Apollo program were the stepping stones to actually take us to space in the first place. Now, I have to clarify something here. History will prove that our early space program was not just about the desire to further our scientific knowledge. It was a political quest. We have to know that. The Russians kicked us in the shorts in 1957 whenever they launched the first satellite. Scared us to death. Absolutely scared us to death. As a result, NASA, actually a little prior to that, or about the same time, NASA was formed from the NACA, which was the National Advisory Committee on Aeronautics. President Eisenhower, the president at the time, realized the implications. And it goes back to that competition thing again. The U.S. was exploring space, but not very rapidly. But whenever Russia did what they did, we weren't going to be left behind. So in order to meet the Russian supposed threat, history will prove it wasn't as much a threat as we thought, but that's okay. To meet the Russian threat, there was a 3-step program devised. Mercury was the first step. It was a one-man vehicle designed for relatively short duration in space. The 2 flights were suborbital flights lasting of about 15 minutes. The first orbital flight, John Glenn, unfortunately we lost John just this year, was a 3-orbit flight. And then it was followed up by another 3-orbit, and then finally a long duration flight by Gordon Cooper, almost a day or a little over a day. He was in orbit. And then it was Gemini. And then Gemini was a 2-man vehicle, and it was designed to perfect all of those techniques that we had to have to reach the moon. Rendezvous, long duration flight. The longest Gemini mission was over 2 weeks. We had to meet all of those problems, and we had to be able to maneuver in space. And Gemini allowed us to answer all those things. We had to learn how to walk in space. We thought we had that figured out. We found out that it's a bigger problem than anybody thought. Then came Apollo. Apollo was the all-on mission to the moon. A 3-man vehicle. It was deemed necessary to have 3 men to help ensure the viability of the mission, the success of the mission. And nobody should sell any of these early astronauts short. Probably, I think it was Alan Shepard that said, how would you feel if you were sitting on top of tons of high explosive fuel in a vehicle built by the lowest bidder? Okay, so these guys should be credited for their courage. They made it look easy. To their fault almost, they made it look easy. It was never, ever easy. I am friends of some of the engineers that actually worked on these programs, and they said that their motto was that they solved 100 unsolvable problems every day. So, at any rate, we went to the moon on a vehicle called Saturn V, and we landed on the moon July 20th, 1969. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins remained in the command vehicle, and he continued to orbit. After that, there were 7 more missions. We landed on the moon 6 times. Of course, Apollo 13, which probably comes to everybody's mind because of the movie, was considered deemed a failure. But in the words of Gene Kranz, who was the controller, the mission controller at the time, it was NASA's finest hour because they used some major ingenuity to get these gentlemen home safe when their spacecraft failed. Quite a remarkable feat of engineering. Most people have forgotten how close to real failure that mission was. And then we kind of slowed down, and then after that it was Skylab, then the space shuttle, and most everyone is familiar with that. Actually, the shuttle has been flying longer than some of you guys that will watch this video have been alive. And of course, it's now been retired, and we're moving on to other things. most people are not aware of the contributions that Missouri has made to aerospace in general, not just the space program. McDonnell Douglas in St. Louis was responsible for designing and building the Mercury spacecraft, plus the Gemini spacecraft, plus they were involved at what the production wasn't in St. Louis. However, it was a McDonnell company that produced the S2 stage for the Saturn V vehicle. They were also very much involved in building Skylab, many of the components, which was incidentally our first manned space station. They were involved very heavily in building components for Skylab. And in addition, they also were involved in engineering and building the OMS pods on the space shuttle, which was the orbital maneuvering system. Matter of fact, one of our board members was the project manager for that program. In addition, also had a program, the first commercial attempt at using space exploration in the EOS program for synthesizing drugs in a microgravity environment. Charlie Walker was the first commercial astronaut. He wasn't an employee of NASA. He was an employee of McDonnell Douglas. McDonnell bought him a trip on the shuttle to work on this new facility, this drug manufacturing facility. And Charlie's a very close friend of the museum. So Missouri has a huge legacy in aerospace. Matter of fact, the museum, the new annex, when it is open, will have featured in it those achievements. As you're going through the museum, if you see a placard in the shape of Missouri, that's because Missouri had something to do with this program. On a smaller scale, this is kind of an anecdote. Over here in one of our cases, there is a can opener. Those can openers were made here in Bonne Terre by a company called Swingaway. They were used on Skylab. So even in a very small way, that money has filtered out and literally touched thousands and thousands of lives. Of course, there's Charles Lindbergh, you name it. There's just tons of areas where Missouri has touched the aerospace community. Is Missouri going to have a role in aerospace in the future? Of course, Boeing is active. They're building their own spacecraft. I'll answer that this way. If the Space Museum here in Bonne Terre has anything to say about it, yes, they will. Because that's what we're trying to do here. We're space advocates. We want people to understand that if you have a dream, those dreams are achievable. There is no more noble or worthwhile dream than traveling in space, in my opinion. It solves a number of other issues. It provides many, many things for our species. So the future, I'm not a prophet, so I really don't know. But if we have anything to do with it, Missouri will. The next priority for the space program, I mean, there's any number of worthwhile projects, mining asteroids, yada, yada, yada. But yes, I think a mission, a sustainable mission to Mars should be the next priority. And the reason I say that, there's multiple reasons I say that. Number one, if we journey to Mars, it is going to require us to pull out all the stops. We're really going to have to do this right. It's a long mission. The soonest that we can get there is about 6 months. Then the occupants have to live there for about 1 year and 2 months before the planets realign, and then it's 6 months home. So obviously, the technology involved and the logistics involved is going to be immense. That said, as this technology continues to be developed, it will benefit us again. But it will allow us to develop the technology then that will open doors for many, many, many other things. One logical step, I think, I think they're going to bypass it now. I'm not sure exactly what the plans are. They change up pretty frequently. But one logical step in order to achieve Mars would be a long-term, long-duration settlement on the moon. It would teach us a lot of things about living in this hostile environment. And on top of that, if we were to develop a base on the moon, it would allow us somewhat a better means to reach Mars. It doesn't require as much energy to leave the moon as it does to leave the Earth's orbit. So there's some advantages to that. My feeling is, and based on what Apollo did for us, the Apollo program and the lunar exploration did for us in the 60s, is that if we set a goal to get on the fast track to Mars, it will really improve our economy tremendously. It will open slots for people who are now studying engineering and science and technology that maybe aren't open right now. IT is huge, but you can only put so many people in IT. There's a lot of things a lot of areas that a Mars mission would open, a lot of disciplines that would be very, very valuable to us. Why is it worth it? Okay, that's a very valid question. I think that can be answered on any number of levels. And probably the one that really speaks to most people is this. Financially, it's a good deal. It just makes good dollars and cents sense. Space tourism will drive our economy. Space exploration and the discoveries that we make, the spin-offs, will drive our economy. That's not bad for any of us. The poor will always be with us. The underprivileged and the unfortunate will always be with us. But in the presence of a good economy, we can better care for them. We can take care of them. And who knows at what we will discover either in food generation or medicine or habitation will benefit those same people. So that's one thing. The second thing, and I've already hinted at it a little bit, is the technology. First the economy, the technology, which the economy breeds off of. But I think there's something else. And I think, to me, really, this is the real reason why. We creatures, we human beings, are explorers. And we have to live on something. There has to be something that motivates us over and above the daily grind, just feeding our face and covering our head. We have to achieve. We have to achieve. When we achieve, we are invigorated by that feeling of achievement. Even though there were many people in the 60s who had a problem with the vast amounts of money that were being spent on the space program. If you really look at it, the amounts weren't that much. Right now, it's like 0.1%. Very small. At that time, it was somewhat larger. It was under 10%, but it was a lot of money. But it was doing good things for us. But for the most part, people felt good about themselves because we were doing something noble, something worthwhile. What's worthwhile? If our population continues to grow, we got to have other places to live. Our resources are going to run out. We have to have other resources to live. Either that or we go back to cavemen days. If I believe this, human beings are not stagnant creatures. We're either moving forward or we're moving backward. We never stay in stasis. I'd rather be moving forward. So that's why I think space exploration is important. It is probably the epitome of what human beings can achieve.
This winds up first-hand look at our space program and our progress in the race for space.